Good morning, Joe. Thank you so much for coming on this morning. We're super excited to have you. I'd love if you could introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Joe Templin. I'm the author of the Amazon Kindle #1 new release, Everyday Excellence. My background is I'm really a human Swiss Army knife because of all of my experiences and studies. To give a real brief synopsis, so when I was 8 years old, I told my mom I wanted to learn everything there was in the world. So my mom, the nun, yes, my mom was a nun, said, there's the encyclopedia, get to work. And so I started getting to work, and that's part of the reason why I have more degrees than a thermometer now. I was severely asthmatic, so at 10 years old, I died. I got better, obviously. At 13, I started college because my parents said 12 was too young to start school. Studied physics, worked for the Department of Defense. Along the way, I started doing Taekwondo, ended up winning a world championship. Started doing running as cross training during the pandemic. I did 2 ultra marathons, actually. I've went into finance, then drifted into psychology, behavioral finance, performance psychology, did a little detour as an intelligence officer for a while, and that's me. I'm a big goofball.
I love it. It's so diverse. I would love if you could tell us what your book's about.
So my book, Everyday Excellence, the way I describe it is that it's a multivitamin for life, because we all have these different components of what makes us up: our personal health, our mental health, our spiritual health, our occupation, our relationships, all these different things. And in the chaos of life, something's always slipping. We're falling behind someplace. We're missing something in one component of our world. And so what the book is meant to be is it's a daily reader, much like The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday or The Daily Laws by Robert Greene. Every day there's a quote from somebody. It could be Mahatma Gandhi, could be Muhammad Ali, could be Dr. Seuss, could be Oprah Winfrey. Then there's discussion and analysis around that. And the reader will take what they are looking for that day. And the big thing that separates my book from a lot of the other ones is that there's actually a call to action every single day. There is an action item that the reader is supposed to do that helps crystallize the concepts that they just read. So these action items can be something as simple as smile at 5 people today, which is actually my favorite one for a lot of reasons, to something as complex as writing down all the reasons why you're upset at somebody, crossing them off, and then burning that piece of paper to clear the mental blocks with them, essentially. So it focuses on all sorts of different areas, and it's the sort of thing that, as the Stoics say, no man can walk through the same river twice because the man is different and the river is different. This is something that somebody can use over and over and over again over the years to continuously improve.
Amazing. What inspired you to write your book?
I'm not even sure what inspired me. I mean, I'm a sponge in a lot of ways, so my mind's a super saturated solution. I just keep learning weird things from all over the place. And sometimes you have that crystallization moment where a throwaway phrase from somebody, or you see something like a little kid playing, and all of a sudden you have this inspiration. And a lot of artists, physical artists like painters have these sort of things. Writers have this too. And so I was listening to some heavy metal, I was throwing around some kettlebells and listening to Jocko Willink one morning at 4:30 in the morning or something. And he made a comment, excellence is a habit. I'm like, excellence is a habit. Habits need to be practiced every single day. Everyday excellence, bang. And all of a sudden it literally was like that. And I put down the kettlebell, I ran upstairs, and I brain barfed out for about 10 minutes because I knew exactly the structure, the form, what I wanted the book to do and all that. And so I just went upstairs and literally just dumped it all out because it was crystallizing out of my mind as to how this was going to look. Then when I basically was like, all right, I'm done, I went back downstairs, finished my workout, and then I came up and grabbed just a standard yellow pad and started getting to work on how I wanted to do this, and put together not really a plan, but a structure of how I was going to work on writing it every single day. And 6 months and 1,200 hours later, I was ready to send it off to the editor.
That's amazing. When you were writing the book, were you thinking of a specific person for like who it comes to, or the book's for, sorry?
So the book is really for anybody that wants to improve. So as Dr. Carol Dweck talks about with her analysis of open-mindedness, only about 40% of big people, as I call them, grown-ups, have maintained a growth mindset. And when we're little kids, we all have the growth mindset. I mean, we all learned to walk, we all learned to ride a bike. We failed a gazillion times, but we kept at it. So my book is really focused on individuals who have maintained at least a portion of that mindset and want to improve in some capacity. So it's one of the things is I really see this book as a great graduation present, because per Pew, when people graduate from college in the United States, they're basically done reading. Half of them read less than 2 books a year from that point forward. So this book is really a good gift for those couple million people graduating who are still in that, recent graduated mode, where they still want to learn, where they still want to get better, they want to invest in the future. But I mean, my dad's 82 years old and he's got a copy of the book. And at least once a week, I get a text or a call from him with a quote or a question about what's going on in it. And so that makes me feel really good. One, because it's my dad, but two, my dad is continuing to embody the growth-minded principle, which is going to keep him young and dynamic and hopefully let me keep him around for another decade or so, because I sort of like having my dad around.
I love that. I love that he has the opportunity to reach out to you and talk to you about your book and experience that with you. How long have you been writing?
Forever. So when I started college at 13 in the Hopkins program, I was actually in the writing program, the communications program, because I was already hyper advanced on the math science side. So I was doing, senior level and high school, college level mathematics and science at that point. I'd already designed an atomic bomb then. So that's a different story. But I read Mushroom Story of the A-Bomb Kid by John Aristotle Phillips. I'm like, ooh, I like physics. And, I ended up doing it and I designed a bomb. And then actually, when I was in graduate school for nuclear engineering, one of the test questions was literally design a bomb. And so I looked down at the paper, looked up at my professor, Clint Ballinger, looked down at the paper, looked around the room, saw that everybody else in the room was in a Navy uniform because it was a nuke Navy class, other than me, and I was working for the Department of Defense then. I'm like, he's like, and I'm like, okay, cool. So, but how did I get off on that? Oh, so how long have I been writing? So writing has been part of what I've wanted to do forever. I mean, everybody's asked what they want to be when they grow up, when they're a little kid. First, I wanted to be a Jedi Knight, which might be the reason why I did martial arts. But I always said I wanted to be a scientist, specifically a physicist, a mad physicist. No, I don't have a death ray, unfortunately, and a writer/consultant. So if you look, I've actually achieved all of those childhood dreams other than being able to use the Force.
I love that. What is your schedule like when you're writing a book? Do you have a strict schedule or?
Well, here's one thing. I am always working on a book. I mean, literally the day after I finished this book and sent it off to the editor, I get up and I started my morning habit stack, which includes getting up, brain dumping, drinking my coffee, going for a quick run, sitting down, writing some more, then doing martial arts and then writing some more. So that's my morning habit stack that I do every single day. And I sat down to work on the book. I'm like, I can't. It's off at the editor. So I literally switched gears and started working on the next book the next day. So I've got 3 different book proposals that I'm working on in addition to various talks. So a lot, like I have friends who are fiction writers, and so they finish a book and then it's done and they have to unplug from it because they've created this entire world and they can move on to, thinking about the next one or completely resetting. But because I am a sponge, I'm learning constantly. And I'm probably doing 3 or 4 podcasts a day right now, or radio shows. And I get to learn new things from everybody that I interact with. So hopefully I can take away a couple of things here, Courtney, in addition to sharing with your people. But I'm going to take away, hopefully, a good chunk too. And so if I'm continuously doing that, then I'm evolving. And so I have ideas for the next book and the next book and the next book. So literally I am writing 2 or 3 book proposals right now, which includes, outlines, chapters, and stuff like that. So if one gets picked up, then I'll focus on that one. If one doesn't get picked up, I'll probably start writing a book anyway, or another book proposal, because that's just what you do. Writers write, fighters fight. So runners run. This is just who we become over time.
I really love that. That's amazing. What do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused on writing?
So I'm probably pretty unusual, especially for somebody who writes like on business and human Kaizen, which is continuous improvement or things like that, because I also write a lot of poetry and I write inspirational things and stuff like that. So I can use anything. So like I'll be out running in the morning and I have to stop and type on my phone because I have lines for poetry or an insight for an article or something like that. I can be in a blank room with literally just pieces of paper or a computer with no internet connection. I've been traveling a lot recently, so I've done a lot of writing in airports, done a lot of writing in the hotel rooms. So this is one of the things that maybe separates me from others. I don't need anything to be able to write other than some way to capture what's going on.
I love that. That's really interesting that you're able to be anywhere and write and continue your craft.
Maybe it's because I have focused so much on resiliency in a lot of ways that, and maybe it's from being a martial artist, maybe it's from being a farm kid, and so you had to be able to solve the problem of whatever was going on based on the situation. Like, if it's raining, we do this sort of stuff. If it's sunny, we can do this. If it's fall, we do this. If it's spring, we have to do these things. So it's just the ability, and maybe it's from being creative and ADHD, is to just shift gears and say, all right, I can't do this, so let's do this now. Let's do this. Let's solve it this way. And it's a mindset that drives a lot of my friends crazy because I'm always going and always on. And like I have 2 speeds, stop and ramming speed. My ramming speed just moves into a different arena. Okay, I'm not writing a book right now. Hey, let's go run an ultra marathon. Hey, let's go do Taekwondo. Hey, let's go on a world tour. So the shifting is always there, but it drives my friends crazy because no matter what the situation is, I can find some way to turn it to advantage. And this goes back to something that my father taught me decades ago when I was first starting graduate school. He sat me down and he was like, Joe, because that's my name, Joe. One of the things that you should do is make sure that in any situation, whether it's a class, a seminar, conference that you go to, a relationship, a book that you read, look for the pearl of wisdom, that little bit of insight, that one thing that you can take away and utilize. And if you can string together enough of these pearls, you're going to have a very rich life. And so I call them pearls of excellence. He called them pearls of wisdom, but it's that little thing, that one takeaway that you can get. And so if you program yourself to look for that, then it's really difficult to get bored, because even if you're sitting in the most boring continuing education class, no demand, which I've had to sit through before, then you can still find something, one line, one phrase, something that you can turn around and utilize. And that is really, I want to call it my superpower, because it's been developed over time, and anybody else can develop their reticular activation system. That's why. But it takes focus, it takes work, it takes discipline over time. And as with any other skill, you develop it and get better with it.
I love that you bring that up, because we've been asked why we take authors from all genres and we don't just specifically stick to one niche area. We decided to do across the board, no matter what, even if it's something we don't agree on the topic, we've decided to do the author interviews so that everyone has an opportunity to learn something. I've learned something from someone that maybe I won't read their book, but I still learned something from hearing them talk. And I might know someone that.
And there was one of the Stoics who, this is when the Epicureans were the big rival school of philosophy in ancient Rome. And there was one Stoic who absolutely hated the Epicureans, but he went to their lectures to listen and try and understand and to learn. And so I don't care where you are on the political aisle, you can learn something from somebody else. I don't care how great your knowledge base is in any one area, there's always more that we can learn from somebody else. And so Marcus Aurelius, near the end of his life, Emperor of Rome, most powerful man in Europe, is going out with a bunch of books. And one of his friends is like, Emperor, where are you going? He's like, I'm going to see Sextus to learn that which I do not know. And so one of the great things about your podcast is how we can pick things up from others. And again, even if it's somebody who I completely disagree with on 99.9%, that 0.1%, that could be enough to give me what I need to create something incredible.
So true, so true. I love that. This is one of our fun questions. What is your favorite writing snack or drink that you have?
Well, I seem to live off of coffee. In fact, I actually sit on the board and a partial owner in a coffee company for that one and only reason.
I love that.
So, but in terms of snack, I mean, I'm trying to be healthy. Now that I'm starting to level up in terms of years a little bit, and I'm getting ready for another ultra marathon, getting ready for some more competition in Taekwondo. But you know what? Oreos. And the fact that they're always coming out with new flavors, like, the Rocky Road or the chocolate whatever. And we actually have a saying on my running team. We call it doing a line, where you eat the entire sleeve of Oreos on your own. Which, if you're doing a 50-mile race, you can justify it. But if I'm sitting there writing all day, it's, I need to run 10 miles to be able to justify eating a sleeve like that.
That's amazing. What books do you enjoy reading personally?
So I still very often go back to some of the things that I loved when I was a kid. So like the Dragonlance series. I absolutely loved that. And I remember my older brother and I waiting for the new book to come out and the new book to come out and everything. And my youngest son is about to turn 12. And I'm trying to get him into it because I want to share this with him. But I read poetry. I read mythology. I'm a huge comic book geek. I've always been a Thor fan. In fact, I drifted into Thor because it's the comic book, because I read all the myths. So, when I ran out of mythology, I came to the comic book world. I basically, and like I read a lot of psychology. I still like to read physics and mathematical things, especially if it's light on the math and more heavy on the concepts, so I can take those concepts and try to apply them to other areas. So my reading is nearly as eclectic as the rest of my interests.
I love that. I love that you.
And one of the things is I've got a lot of friends who are writing books now, whether it's my friends in financial services, my Intel buddies, people in other spaces. And so anytime one of my friends releases a book, I get an autographed copy. I buy an autographed copy and I read it. So if your friends write books, you should buy them.
I love that. That is true. Support. That's really important. We actually have a main business that we have for admin and stuff. And that's one thing we've learned is like the community and support that as an entrepreneur that you gain. And you meet people, we call them our Zoom friends or our computer friends that, and then eventually when you meet them in life, it's amazing.
Yes, it is. I've been at a couple of conferences in the past few weeks, and that's after not traveling since, before COVID, basically, because of stuff with my kids. So 4 years, 5 years since I've seen some of these people. And it's like, just the energy that you get from it. So one of the things I would recommend to the listeners is go do something like that. And I don't care if it's like a writing convention, and so you get to go talk writing with people, or if it's an interest like martial arts or basket weaving or what have you. Go to interact with other people, because the energy and the random interactions, and the fact that you can sit there and have a cup of coffee or an adult beverage with people with different perspectives. Or I had a chance to talk to Joe Jordan, who recently released another book. And he's been in the insurance industry for 50 plus years, elder statesman and everything. I got 30 minutes just sitting there talking on one morning, and got some great insights that are going to help me carrying forward.
That's amazing. Were there any authors or books that really inspired you to become a writer?
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy obviously was a lot, and Hemingway, because both of those writers, it's a very simplistic style. So I'm fairly minimalist overall. I mean, I don't need a big house. I don't need the flashy car. I don't need the great food. Just give me a cheeseburger and a Guinness. I'm a farm kid. I'm a simple man, as Leonard Skinner would say. So I can write with the purple prose. I can be very descriptive, but the understatedness of those two, like it says in the Latin, the art of the poet is to not say everything. That has influenced me in a lot of ways.
I love that. It's really powerful.
Yeah, it's not often that you hear Papa Hemingway and Douglas Adams, link together.
Yes. What type of books did you grow up reading? I do know where my towel
is, by the way.
What type of books did you grow up reading, and did you have a favorite?
I grew up reading everything. In fact, my mom realized when I was probably 3 years old that my older brother and I, Jay, my Irish twin, were messing around just so we could get in trouble and be sent to our room, because that's where the books were. And so then she made me sit on the stairs, and being ADHD and not diagnosed till I was a grown up, being high energy, as they called us in their mid 70s. Oh, that was brutal. I did not want to just sit there. That did not play well with the job. So we literally read anything we could get our hands on, whether it was the newspaper, the back of the cereal box, the books. So my older brother and I both had jobs when we were early on. My dad, running his consulting firm, hired us to do stuff. And we spent every single dime we had on books.
Wow. That's amazing, though. A lot of people don't get the opportunity to always read, and it's amazing that you had that opportunity to learn at such a young age.
Well, at that point in the 70s and 80s, people didn't have it. Now, I mean, you can go on the internet and you can find almost any book, or if you can't find the exact book, there's still so much out there. Or you can go to YouTube and get audiobook things. So I don't have a ton of time to sit down and read because of my martial arts and training for ultra marathons and all these other things. But I constantly consume. So I listen to audiobooks, whether it's on YouTube or Audible, for my entire commute, both ways. When I'm cooking dinner, when I'm training. I mean, so I found a different way to get that feed to, my soul, but we can tap into that. So, I mean, literally anybody with an internet connection can access literature and books and have the opportunity to learn and grow.
I love that you bring that up, because a lot of people think reading books, you just have to sit there and read. There's so many options nowadays with audiobooks and all the different things that are coming out.
Yeah. And, one of the things that is understated is the old lecture structure. Attending a lecture, whether it's for a class or a chautauqua or a seminar on campus, or, there are literally tens of thousands of internet-based, I don't know if they're Zoom or Ring Central or whatever, training sessions on everything. And most of them are free. So you can tap into resources. It's the desire to do so. And so that is one of the things that I hope that I can do, is help give people the kick in the butt to say, you can be more, you can be better. Look at these opportunities here. Go and seize the day.
I love that. As an adult now, what are your
Who
favorite
says I'm an
series?
adult?
As a
Big person?
big person now, not a little kid, what what is your favorite series, or is there a favorite author you have to read? Like if they have something come out, you're definitely reading it no matter what.
In terms of authors, anything that comes out from Ryan Holiday, I'm reading. And like he has both the Daily Dad and the Daily Stoic, so I get 2 chunks of his reading every single morning. But he's got a new one coming out. Discipline is Destiny. That should be out next month. So I'm really looking forward to that, because Courtney's Calling was spectacularly good. So anything by him. If Jocko Willink comes out with another one, I'll read that. Pinker, Malcolm Gladwell. So and as you can see, these are very different individuals in terms of background, mindset, what they're doing. But the constant theme through what I like to consume is improvement. And so I refer to myself as a human Kaizen expert because of that belief that we can all get better. And so it might not be from a formalized training program. It might be total self-sight. It might be the insight from one of these things that brings you down a rabbit hole. But it's just the desire to get better is the most important component of getting better.
So true. So true. You have to have the motivation to actually do the work. What would you tell someone who's just starting out with reading again?
Just do it. You know what? Find something that you're enjoying reading. I don't care if it's graphic novels. I don't care if it's a bodice ripper. You know, after you read the first 3, they're all exactly the same anyway, but you can pick up some new vocabulary. I don't care if it's, philosophy. Just start doing it, because what's going to happen is that you start reading and you get new ideas, and then it expands slightly. And one of the things is that we get better at getting better over time. So you learn to read maybe a little bit faster, or with a little greater comprehension, or being able to sift through what you're reading to be able to pull more usefulness out of it. So just start and don't stop. Same way that you finish a marathon or an ultra marathon.
Love that. On the flip side, what would you tell someone who's just starting to write their own book?
Do it every day. So like I was talking with James Quandrell a couple months ago about this, and Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hour rule for mastery. And I had learned an equivalent much, much earlier from my Taekwondo master of doing a technique 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times to master it. But if you do something for 1,000 hours, you can become excellent at it. 1,000 hours is 1 hour every single day for 3 years. So if you sit down and consistently write every single day, even if it's only for 15 minutes for 1 month, your capabilities at the end of the 30 days are going to be a lot better than what they were when you started. And you're going to start figuring out what's your groove, how do you work best, and when do you work best, and where do you work best. Some of the questions you were asking earlier, Courtney. And you start finding your voice and your particular style. So just start doing it and keep doing it on a regular basis. It's like a kid learning to play the violin. Okay, when they start, it sounds like they're strangling a cat. But if they consistently practice for 15 minutes a day, after a couple of years, you know what? It doesn't sound like they're strangling a cat anymore. It sounds sort of like music. And like my middle son is a violinist. And so when I attended his spring concert, I'm like, wow, they're starting to sound good versus the CIA torture of his first concert. And, he's 15 by the time he's like 17, it could be sounding really good. And if he decides to continue it, and why is he going to continue it? Because he ends up loving it. Okay. People, once they get to that point, they're not continuing it because mom and dad make them or they need the credit for school. They're continuing it out of desire, out of joy, out of passion. And if they can reach that point, that's where they can move into being really excellent, even awesome. And so with writing is the same thing. You write for 15 minutes every day, even if it sucks and you throw away 90% of it. I had many mornings where I threw away most of what I wrote. I've written thousands of poems that will probably never see the light of day because they didn't convey what I wanted to. But you keep doing it and you just improve. And after a year, then even if you haven't made much progress on the book, supposedly, you've made progress in your skill set. You've clarified your thinking. You've improved everything, including the process of writing. And so it's then that second step, that second epoch of it, where maybe you're actually creating something that has commercial viability.
I love your example of the violin. I was laughing because I have a 4-year-old who plays the violin, and it's so true. If my 4-year-old can get better at playing the violin, you can get better at writing.
Yeah.
So, what's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
That even though I run Ragnars and ultra marathons, I hate running. I really hate running. I'm not a good runner, as anybody who's seen me run knows. I'm like, a broken, shuffling pirate, especially as you get like 40, 50 miles into it. But, I don't like running that much because I get bored and all these other things. So I actually didn't talk about that for a while, but then I heard David Goggins, the ultra marathoner, say that he hates running. I'm like, okay, if this guy who's one of the baddest men on the planet and is going to win Badwater at some point can admit that, then I can admit that I don't like running very much either.
I love that. Thank you for being open about that. Is there anything you would like to say or add to the listeners?
Yeah. There's a story that I love, and I've related it for many years. And actually, Ryan Holiday went and used this in Courage is Calling. So part of me is upset for it. Part of me is like, yes, read that story. But it's called the Herculean choice. Basically, Hercules was offered the opportunity to have a life of ease, never have to worry, but at the end of his life, he would be forgotten. Or he was offered the difficult path where, he had to battle, he had to do the 12 labors and, all that. And there was no guarantee, but if he survived and succeeded on the far side, he would have glory and immortality. And he ended up taking the path of labor and ultimately being on Olympus. And in every situation that we have that same choice. We can take the easy route, what feels good in the moment. The eating the cupcake as opposed to eating the apple. The playing video games instead of cracking the book to study or sitting down and write. The sitting on the couch and eating Cheetos or putting on the running shoes and going out and running in the rain. Okay? So it feels good in the moment. But what's the long range consequence? If you keep eating the cheeseburgers and Oreos, you're going to get diabetes or your pants are going to fit. If you smoke the cigarette because it feels good in the moment, then you're going to have lung cancer. And that's really a not good thing, having watched it with my mom. If you avoid the difficult discussion with your significant other, you ultimately have the relationship fall apart. So you can do what feels good in the moment and get that quick hit, that fix. Or you can do what's harder. It's more difficult, but it leads to a better place. That's why we work out every single day. That's why even if I don't want to write in the morning, I sit down and I write because afterwards I feel better about it. It's the reason why you eat the healthy food, because even though it doesn't taste as good as the high fat, high salt stuff, you know that you're doing the right things for your body. And so in every situation that we have the easy choice and the right choice. And so for your listeners, although it might seem like it sucks in the moment, make the right choice.
I love that advice. That's so important. Where's the best place for readers to find your book? I know a lot of readers love signed copies. Is that an option? And the best place to connect with you?
So they can buy it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or any place like that. That's where you can get the Kindle version on Amazon. But the best place to connect with me and to like get a signed copy or anything like that is to go to the website, which is everyday-excellence.com. That's everyday-excellence.com. So they can get the signed copies of the book there. There's a microblog that I put up every single day. So it's an environment to help create excellence. There's a link to the YouTube channel. All the podcasts are up there. So it really is a constant feed with 2 or 3 or even sometimes 5 new pieces of information or insight every single day for people to be able to go along their own journey of excellence.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate having you and we loved getting to know you. I'll be sure to link all those links down in the show notes. That way people can find you easy and reach out to you. And again, thank you so much.
Courtney, thank you. Be excellent and grow today.